Tónlistar- og ráðstefnuhúsið Harpa hefur verið vettvangur umræðu jarðhita alla þessa viku. Fyrst með fundi Alþjóðabankans og utanríkisráðuneytis sérstaka jarðhita áætlun sem nefnist Global Geothermal Plan og í gær hófst íslenska jarðhitaráðstefnan með yfir 700 þátttakendum. Fyrir 3 árum var af hálfu orku ráðgjafadeildar Alþjóðabankans, ESMAP, sett á laggirnar fyrrnefnd jarðhita áætlun á fundi í Reykjavík og 3. fundurinn þá stefnumörkun var haldinn í vikunni. Pierre Audinet einn af yfirmönnum ESMAP.
The Global Geothermal Development Plan was launched here, actually in Reykjavik in 2013, on the occasion of the previous Iceland Geothermal Conference. And it is nothing more than a global effort to put more attention and resources into the exploration phase of geothermal so that we basically bring to the world more resources, more geothermal resources that can then be used for power production or for other heat and thermal productions, essentially. And that's mostly focused on the developing countries, since the call was launched by the World Bank and was launched because of an observation that too little was happening in those countries, and many of these countries actually were finding that they potentially had a resource and they were looking for ways to exploit it and scale it up. So this is really with this in mind, to really scale up the resource and focusing on the exploration side so that we bring those resources to a commercial stage.
Earlier this week, there was the third ESMAP Global Geothermal Development Plan roundtable. The highlights of that meeting?
Well, the third roundtable was focused on a lot of the different ways governments can actually help in the sector and help private developers move forward in that exploration phase, which is often very difficult for a developer to finance, especially in the developing countries. So where the regulatory risks or the availability of private equity is less. So we explored various options. I mean, this Global Geothermal Development Plan roundtable, we do it more or less annually as an opportunity to exchange, because a lot of the knowledge also to do this kind of project, to undertake this kind of investments, to plan them and execute them and finance them, this knowledge is very scattered. It's within the hands and the minds of a few people around the world, so it's very useful to actually exchange on that.
The growth of geothermal is modest. Why is that?
Well, it's due to a variety of reasons. I mean, part of it is linked to the current context, where in some regions of the world the price of gas, for example, or the price of coal electricity is so low that it makes it difficult for geothermal electricity to compete. In some other areas, like in the United States, we learned today here that basically a lot of the constraints on the growth of the sectors are due to permitting difficulties and more soft market barriers. But in reality, in most of the world, the big elephant in the room is the cost, essentially, of the exploration phase, where you have to invest in a number of wells while an uncertainty remains on what actual size of a power plant or an energy production facility you're going to be putting in place and from which you will generate cash flow. So while this is waiting for cash flow, this money is basically used to drill wells, and each of these wells can be costing anywhere from $2 to $7 or $8 million one well. So it's extremely expensive and therefore very risky.
There's an increasing global knowledge of the importance of public funding for geothermal exploration. How are the donors responding?
There is definitely more interest now and more understanding also of how geothermal projects can be undertaken. I would say donors are responding in different ways. They are generally more open to geothermal. Geothermal energy was still the sort of the poor brothers of the renewable energy sector before. I think there is a much better understanding now, and initiatives like the Global Geothermal Development Plan certainly help. And I must say that we are extremely grateful to the citizens of Iceland for supporting us. I mean, actually, this is done. The government of Iceland is providing some support to the World Bank and ESMAP for that, and with other donors as well. And the continuity of the support of the government of Iceland has been extremely precious in that. So, and that is motivating other donors also to come in. On the bank side, the multilateral development banks now see also an increasing interest in geothermal, and part of this is also the result of the work that we've done with the Global Geothermal Development Plan, which has, now that resources are becoming more real, they see the potential for projects more downstream, investments in power plants or in district heating facilities or these kind of things, which are obviously becoming more real and are attracting their attention because this is very much their standard business.